Welcome to Grandstand Therapy. I am Lori, and today we're going to dive into the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a brand new world champion, Lando Norris. What an emotional weekend this was. I mean, at least for me it was. And I definitely needed therapy. And so much so that it took me a bit to even record this because it was such an emotional roller coaster this weekend. Well, we're going to dive into all the race festivities and the championship and all those things. But first, we're going to dive into some kind of like some pre-race weekend news leading into the weekend. So first off, let's see, before we had started, we were announced that Cadillac will be showing us their new livery for 2026 car during the Super Bowl. And it sounds like it's going to be a commercial during the Super Bowl. What's more American than that, than put it on the biggest sports stage? So we'll be looking out for that for the Super Bowl. So maybe this will be a Super Bowl that we will watch the commercials. They haven't been that great in the last few years. Then also we had the drivers' dinner. So every year the drivers get together for one final dinner. This year they just posted a picture that said class of 2025 with all the drivers. Well, we got no seating chart. We always get a seating chart. Like, we want to know who sits next to who. You know, you got to spice it up. You know, last year we had Russell and Max were having beef, and they didn't want to sit next to each other during the dinner. So that was kind of awkward on where they were going to place them. So, you know, we need some spiciness. Let's put all three of the driver champion contenders sitting next to each other. But no, we don't know where everybody sat. There were three missing this year. We had Alonso, Stroll, and Hulkenberg were not in attendance this year for the dinner. And we had Pierre Gasly paid for the dinner this year. There's that. And then Alex Albon posted that we were all placing our bets on who would be the champion this Sunday. That was kind of fun to see coming into this tension of a weekend. Then... So also some news we had is Yuki Tsunoda. Of course, this is his last weekend, race weekend with racing, Red Bull Racing. He will stay on to be a reserve role for the team, which is great. At least he's still going to be on the grid, somewhat capacity. We have to have Yuki's spice and fun, and he does such great postings and media, and we love that. So at least he'll still be in attendance. And he was surprised because for race day in his garage, he had Jason Stamos and Emily Ratajkowski. So if you're not familiar with that background, Yuki's idol is Jason Stamos. And so they surprised him in being in his garage. And then Emily Ratajkowski, she has been a fan. She was wearing the Red Flags Pod shirt that says Yuki on it. Anyway, that was awesome for his final race that they were in attendance. So that was really cool. Carlos Sainz, he had a special livery helmet for his very last race with sparkles design. It was the bright pink, blues, greens, all the colors of sparkles. It was super cool. I tell you what, that little girl, she needs to get royalties for the rest of her life. So Williams, you might want to look into that. So that was super cool. He also hinted that they may be using that for 26 as well. So that would be fun. I love how Formula One incorporates the fans so much. It's super cool. This isn't just about watching cars go around the track every weekend. This is a whole culture. Us as fans are just submerged in it. We follow the drivers behind the helmet. It's not just about the teams. It's about the personalities, the drivers. We want to know everything going on. And it's really super cool when they are able to incorporate little fans into it, the little kids. And that's really awesome to see. Also, we had Sabre. They will be exiting F1 for the first time in 30 years, and it will now become Audi next year. So that was, kind of the end to their era there. And then Alpine, also, they will be changing their engine from Renault after all these years next year. So those are kind of some news coming into the weekend. Of course, we had a giant buildup of the race weekend. I mean, spiciness all around, going to Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, and Oscar going into the weekend. We have it's the first time in 15 years that we've had a 3-driver championship going into the final race of the season. Typically, it's usually won several races before the end of the season. And then this is the first time in 15 years that it's been this hyped up. So, of course, they're going to play to that. You got Max Verstappen coming in at 12 points behind Lando, and then Oscar, his teammate, is also behind Lando by 16 points. So, granted, the percentages are pretty, not great. We pretty much thought Lando would take it, but there was a slight possibility that could be changed. So going into the FIA press conference on media day, you had Max, Lando, and Oscar. Of course, they put them all in the room together. That was the largest media press people that they have had in a room, in a little tight room. And they had them all sitting next to the driver's championship trophy. And they would go around and they asked each of them, what that means to you. What does it look to see? And they get to Max Verstappen and they're like, what would it be to win your fifth? What does it mean for you to see that trophy? And Max, as pundit as he can be, well, I have 4 of them at home, so I already know what it looks like. And I'm pretty sure my signature hasn't changed. I just laughed. Great, typical Max. He doesn't let the pressure get on him at all. Then they started asking dumb questions. I hate to say that, but it's just dumb. They are asking are you going to follow papaya rules this weekend to Lando and Oscar? They each asked Lando and then they'd ask Oscar, have you had meetings with the team on how you're going to do the strategy? If you're going to use papaya rules to change positions, because going into this race, we already knew that it really didn't matter even if Max Verstappen was to win the race, because Lando only had to finish on the podium to win the championship. So he had to be off the podium in order not to win the championship, to even give to give Oscar and Max a chance. So that being said, are y'all going to change places? Are you going to do different things? They're going to answer that. They're just not. They're not going to answer those kind of strategy questions. Then a reporter asked Max, he said, so Zach Brown came out and said that Max Verstappen, that guy's like a horror film. What do you have to say about that, Max? You can just call me Chucky. That's what Max says. So freaking hilarious. So that was fun. I feel like the guys were pretty lighthearted. I didn't feel like Oscar or Lando were really they didn't appear to be that nervous. They acted pretty calm, cool, and collective. Of course, Max did. So that was kind of the buildup. Of course, the whole weekend, all kinds of questions, interview sessions, all those kind of things. So then we get to qualifying. So qualifying session, Q1, out in Q1, we had Lewis Hamilton out at Q1 again. 26 cannot come fast enough for poor Lewis Hamilton. I know his spirit is so crushed. I hate that every interview you see it in him. You see the gut wrench that he has for how this season's unfold. It's really heartbreaking. And I really hate to see that. And I really hope that Ferrari gets their stuff together and gives him a great car next year. It's just awful to watch. So I'm really praying that takes a turn. Then we get into Q2. So Q2, Kimi Antonelli was released unsafely in the pit lane and smashes right into the side of Yuki Tsunoda's car. Thankfully, Yuki's car was okay to get back out there, because Max kind of needed him for strategy for qualifying. So that was the one thing that they needed to kind of get down for the weekend if Max was going to have any shot at this. Of course, Mercedes did apologize to Red Bull for the incident, and thankfully Yuki's car is okay to get back out. Then we get to Q3. Now, Q3, Max goes out in the first to get a pole lap out. He uses Yuki for a tow. He did get a 10th faster on that first lap, but it really didn't matter, because in the end, Max qualified a 10th ahead of the McLaren boys. So that was awesome to see. But what was really crazy is, so our final in Q3 to set your grid for the race was Max, Lando, Oscar, Russell, Leclerc, Fernando, and Bortoleto. That was your top 5. Qualifying was so tight. This is what's crazy about the field at the end of this regulation. Qualifying was so tight that it was 0.0367 seconds of a difference between P1 and P15. That is insane. That just goes to show you how close this grid was and how tight this end of this season has gotten between the field. So once qualifying was kind of done, I mean, that was Saturday. And let me tell you, Saturday night, I needed some therapy. Like I was so, like I couldn't even sleep. I was so anxious about Sunday coming. I know, I mean, I've told you guys, of course, I'm a Max Verstappen fan. I'm also about somebody winning their first world championship. I think it's amazing. So, of course, I knew it was a long shot. Max could potentially win his fifth, but it doesn't mean that I'm not like just thinking about it. I was just thinking about it. I mean, constantly. So anyway, let's get into the race on Sunday. Whew. Okay, so what a nail biter. So we're sitting there, and of course we know that it's all going to come down to lap one, turn one, who's going to get ahead at the start. Immediately we see that Oscar, who's running in third, is on hard tires, and Yuki is on hard tires, which is Max's course teammate. Everybody else in the field is pretty much on medium tires. So what's that going to look like? So, of course, Max gets out from the start immediately, gets out in front. Oscar gets ahead of Lando from the start. I don't know if that was intentional. They were playing strategy, play the long game, or if Oscar's just, I mean, I think they probably told him you can go for it. But if it comes to a point where you're not going to be winning the championship, you need to sit back so that Lando can go ahead and be on the podium. Because, again, all Lando had to do was be on the podium for this race. It wasn't going to be enough for Max Verstappen to win the race if Lando was on the podium. So he needed help from the back of the field to do some magic. That's kind of what we were like looking for. So Oscar does get ahead of Lando at the start on the hard tire. It was a great, impressive move by him. Didn't hit anybody, no drama there. Russell I was kind of counting on Russell to do some magic, but he didn't. He dropped back a few places. But Charles Leclerc, I don't know how he can find something in that Ferrari when Hamilton cannot find something in that Ferrari. But Leclerc was feisty. He was trying his best to just work that car. So he's working that car. He's sitting there in fourth place. He's just really going for it. Then we had Liam Lawson. He ended up getting a penalty for driving erratically in the back of the field. And then, okay, I do have one beef. I normally always listen. I watch, of course, on F1 TV, but I always listen to the Sky Sports broadcast. But this week, and I'm usually not disappointed. I want to listen to Crofty. I want to listen to Brundle. That's my thing. Nothing against F1, Alex Chase. I like him too, but I'm just a Sky Sports girl. And I was a little disappointed this weekend with Sky Sports because they just kept talking about the strategies. I mean, again, Max can't just win by winning the race. He has to have help from the back of the field because Lando only has to be on the podium. So Red Bull is, of course, trying to use Yuki. I didn't know how far that was going to get him because we all know how that second Red Bull seat has been all season. But they were going to try to do something for Yuki. That's why they put him on the hard tires, to try to maybe back up the field. When you got to pit stop strategies, when you got people pitting, maybe Yuki can stay out there longer, get ahead, hold back, Oscar, Orlando, whatever you needed to do for strategy. I mean, McLaren's doing the exact same thing. We all know that, because if there's a point where Oscar's not going to win the championship, they're going to do the same thing with Lando. They're going to move Oscar and Lando around positions so that Lando can win the championship. It's the way that it works. That's why you have teammates on the team to help fight for a championship. But no, you have the commentators calling out, Martin Brundle calling that unsportsmanlike. I mean, it's not unsportsmanlike. They're not doing anything wrong. They're just playing the game strategy. That was a little irritating. I did not like that. There was a lot of punchy things throughout that just was like, okay, I'm done with this. So I guess I should have listened to Alex Jakes, because he would have been much better to listen to. Then, of course, we get into our strategy of pits. Now, we didn't know going in if we would have a two-stop strategies, one-stop strategies, how it's going to go. We kind of thought it would be a two-stop strategy based on practices on the long runs. The tires were degrading very fastly. So they did pretty much do a two-stop strategy. So when the first round of pits comes about, Leclerc pits, Lando goes ahead and pits first before Oscar because, again, Oscar's on the hard tire, so he can go longer. And at this point, they needed to kind of cut off Leclerc and Russell from a chance of getting on that podium. So they both pit. Yuki is on the hard tire, and he is trying his best to keep Lando. So when Lando comes out, he is behind. So Yuki is scrapping with him for a little bit, and he just can't hold on. And Yuki does some maneuvering around the track, weaving back and forth. Lando goes off the track, comes back on. Could have been a disaster, wasn't. Yuki gets a penalty, 5-second penalty for weaving, driving, of course, erratically, I guess you want to call it. We didn't know if Lando was going to get a penalty for going off the track and gaining an advantage. He didn't, but in the end, it really wouldn't have mattered if he did or didn't because he finished 8 seconds ahead anyway at the end of the day. So it wouldn't have mattered. So Max is in the lead, and it's just not an exciting race. There was tension because we didn't know if anything could happen, meaning like safety car comes out last minute, someone's tires blow out between the championship rivals. But other than that, Abu Dhabi is typically not an exciting track. You can overtake on it, but it's just not an exciting track. So it wasn't a very exciting race other than those kind of details. So Max goes on to win the race, and Oscar finishes second, and Lando finishes third, which secures his world championship title, which was awesome. So let's just go through kind of the winning. So Max comes on his radio, and he tells his team, don't be disappointed. I'm definitely not disappointed. I'm very proud of everyone. We never gave up. Thank you thank you everyone. Thank you to Honda for all these wonderful years and success that we've had together. And then they show a shot of Max's engineer in GP with just his head down with his headset on, like very emotional. And I was like, oh, what is going on? Of course, Oscar finishes P2. His team comes on the radio and is, great job, great drive this year, kind of in a calm, his racing engineer, kind of in a calm, rational voice. And then you got Zach Brown, he comes on, oh, Oscar, just loud and rowdy, thanks for your great job this year. And then Lando. Okay, so Lando, he does his victory lap. And he comes and backs into his donuts. And then when he parks his car, he just puts his hands like he's just moved to tears and, crying. And I mean, I am tears streaming down my face. Everyone in my household, we are all just emotional, like for Lando. This is the thing I was thinking about the whole time that this was going. Of course, this continues. You could tell he's very emotional. He leaves his helmet on for quite some time. His parents are standing there at the side of the track. His girlfriend, other friends and family, the team, Oscar's family standing there. Max comes over and congratulates Lando on his win. It was so emotional. Like, I just kept thinking this whole time, like, this sport, how is a sport moving me to tears? And you know how? It's because everyone wants everybody to succeed. And these guys work their whole lives since they were little boys, going through karting to get to the best motorsports top of the chart. And Lando becomes the 35th guy to win a World Drivers' Championship out of 75 years. So it's an elite group. So it's a huge deal. It's your first win. It's very emotional. And you follow these guys. Whether it's your person that you wanted to win or not, it doesn't matter because we all have some kind of emotions and know how it is for these drivers. It was just so great to witness and watch. I loved every minute of it. It was even really cool because Lando's mom even hugged Oscar's mom. It had to be hard on Oscar. I mean, he could tell he was very emotional as well with that. Kimi Antonelli went into the garage and apologized to Max because Max lost by 2 points. I mean, he lost the championship by 2 points, and he felt bad because the last race again he let Lando overtake him. He didn't let him, sorry. He must have made a mistake, allowed Lando to get ahead of him, and he finished fourth in the race, and that was a 2-point difference, and he lost by 2 points. But, you know, this championship wasn't lost by 2 points when it comes to Max. Max was behind 104 points at the summer break. He made his attempt to make a charge. Max said it in the press conference multiple times at the beginning of this weekend that he's there. He should have been out of it, but he's there because of other people's misfortunes. He was handed gifts at the end of the season with the disqualifications, with, you know, all these things that came into play. There was lots of things that went on throughout the season to get him here to be 2 points behind. He was very excited for Lando to win his first championship. I mean, it's just, you know, emotions are running high. And so then we get to the cool down room. Okay. I love the cool down rooms. Everybody's quiet, including the media on the TV commentating so that you can hear the drivers talk. This was the most just awkward cool down room. Oscar and Max are in there first. It takes Lando a bit to get in there, obviously, because he's on the track with his family and friends and very emotional and, you know, just talking to the press about what it means to him, those kind of things. Oscar's clearly on the couch. You could tell upset. I mean, not too much, but you could kind of tell he was a little bit weepy. He should be. I mean, it's heartbreaking. He was so close. Max is really, you know, doesn't have much to say. You've got in front of them, you got the pictures of the race going on and Lando's, you know, achievements throughout the season. I mean, that's hard to watch when you were so close to it. So I get that. Finally, Lando does come in the room. Max kind of says a couple of words to him and he says, he's like, Lando's slouching down on the couch like, oh, wow. I'm just like full with emotion. And Max is like, better get your energy. You're going to have a long night ahead of you of celebration. And then you have the creepy FIA Muhammad. He comes in and he rubs Lando's hair like he's a little kid. I mean, really? That guy's just so weird. Then after the cool down room, they had the podium. So I got another like yuck moment that I don't like. So Abu Dhabi, you know, it's the final race of the season. The podium is very, I don't know, it's awkward here. You would think that they would do it differently, especially knowing that it's a championship decider. It hasn't been, but it was this year. It's so high up that first off, the teams are so far below the podium, like way down and across from it. And granted, we have had the last, I think it's last time it was run in Abu Dhabi was 2021. So the last 3-4 years we've had it. It hasn't been the deciding factor. I mean, it's been won a couple races before the end of the year. And the bad thing about this is that even though you have a race that just was won, like you had Max win the race, you had, you know, Lando or Oscar finished P2 and Lando finished P3, and you have a regular podium celebration, you don't have the world championship celebration yet. So it's just, I don't know. I just don't like the way it feels because you're kind of like, where's the world championship trophy? They don't actually give it out at that race. They'll actually give Lando his World Drivers' Championship trophy next Friday at the award ceremony, where they also give out like Rookie of the Year, Driver of the Year, those kind of things. So they do it like a celebration for the entire F1 community, like an award ceremony. So that's why it wasn't handed out at the track. But it's just like you've got this regular just race ceremony going on here, and it's just the whole thing's kind of weird. But anyway, they was all handed out. Trophies, regular trophies for the race were handed out. Lando then stays up there for a little bit longer. They, of course, spraying him with champagne. He's very emotional still, and they do this. He does this great interview. I mean, the interview was just amazing. If you didn't watch any of that, go back and watch it because it's just, I mean, pulls on your heartstrings. All right, let's see. Also some facts. Okay, so then after the podium, they go into the press conferences, the three of them. I should say the three of them. Usually the three race winners go into the final press conference after the race. But Lando was involved because he's the champion, was interviewing left and right. So it was just Oscar and Max in the press conference room. So there always is a guy leading the press conferences, and he was asking great questions and saying great things. And Max was, Max started up because he, of course, won the race. So he talked about it was, he was happy for Lando. It was a great achievement. It's a once in a lifetime feeling that you're going to feel this. He talked about how, he is not disappointed with the season he's had. Again, the team worked really hard through all the adversities with the car all year to get him even close enough to even be in contentions with this title fight. He praised Charles Leclerc for having raced his butt off that race. He of course talked about the team. He talked, just really great stuff. And then Oscar, kind of same thing. Just kind of talked about the season as a whole. Obviously, he's not very happy about it. He was going to potentially win his first championship. But when we get into the questions, people, again, we already had the first part of the weekend with the people asking dumb questions. And here we go into the end of the weekend with people asking dumb questions. I felt like they were asking Oscar questions like, is it going to be different next year now that you have a world champion on your team? Are are y'all both going to still be, treated the same? Are you going to have the same opportunities next year? I'm like, way to put salt in the wound. I mean, come on. This guy just got defeated by his teammate. I mean, anyway, that's just yuck. I don't like that kind of press in there. But and then Max, of course, they would ask Max questions. I mean, he really didn't get, I think he saw him coming. There was one great question that was asked by Tim Haraney, which I do follow. And he, of course, was a driver. He's got a driving background. He's a journalist. So he's asked really great questions. And he did ask, so you could tell that GP, your engineer, was extremely emotional following your message on the radio. And Max said, yes, I'm not going to go into it in too much detail, but he has had a lot of personal things going on this season. And so I don't just call him my engineer. He's also my friend. So I need to go and find him and give him a hug and find out, see how he's doing. So I don't know where that's going. Following the race, I kind of looked into that. It looks like there's a potential that GP may not be Max's engineer next year. And if that happens, I will be, because they're such a great team together. But if he does have personal things going on, that's going to take him, this is a traveling circus. You're away from your families for a very long time. Your kids, you miss milestones. I mean, it's very hard. So you may be taking a different role. Don't know. There's also a possibility him and Marco is gone. We'll see. So that, and then the final question of that press conference, a reporter asked Max. He asked him, so do you think that, are you regretting those nine points that you didn't get in Spain, which is where he had a little scruffle with Russell. Well, he ran him off the road. I mean, he did. It's a mistake. He's regretted it. He's apologized for it. If you don't know the story, that's kind of what happened. So the reporter asks, so how much are you thinking about Spain and how much this could be a deciding factor why you lost the championship today? And Max goes, I knew you were going to bring this up. And he just pauses and he goes, yeah, you can just keep that smirk on your face. Let's just talk about all the other things that could have happened this season and did happen this season and why you might bring up that versus this one incident. And it just ends. It was like mic drop. I was like, dang. I mean, just why ask these kind of questions? I mean, they're just dumb. I felt like that wasn't, I felt like it wasn't appropriate. I felt like it was, there are so many things that happened this season. That's the thing. Is like, again, I talked about it earlier. Max came from 144 points behind, was within 2 points of losing the championship. There were so many things that went wrong. There was disqualifications for McLaren. There was, Max had not finished races, not won races. His car wasn't great. There was a lot of things. So you just don't know till it comes down to the end. And that's the way it goes. There's no hard feelings. Everyone's ecstatic for Lando. Happy he's won the championship. There's no hard feelings. I mean, that's just the way it goes. So let's talk about, we're moving on to 2026. I mean, I after this weekend, I was such an emotional roller coaster the last couple of days that I need a break too. So we'll have a break. We don't know now. Lando has said he is going to take the number 1 since he has that right on the championship. Max has not said whether he's going to go to MB69, MB3, really hoping MB69. But that's always been his favorite number, and he wanted to go with it. So anyway, we'll find out, I'm sure, in the coming weeks. So we will have 90 days, 91 days until we start back up for the first race. But in between there, the guys will take a break, and then we'll be on to testing starting in January. So anyway, that's a wrap for this race recap for Abu Dhabi and our championship now, Lando Norris, which is awesome. And I will probably put out an episode next week with kind of my thoughts from the whole season. And then we'll see as things come out. I'm sure we'll have little nuggets dropped at us along the way. One thing I am looking forward to is we got kind of like a little Secret Santa. Like the way I said that. Secret Santa, the drivers do it every year where they, trade gifts and have a Secret Santa. And we've already gotten a little glimpse of it in the paddock this weekend with Fernando Alonso getting a gift. And so they put a whole grid, F1 puts out an episode on the Secret Santa and them trading and trying to guess who was their Secret Santa. And we always look forward to that every year. That should be dropping soon. Usually it's right after this Grand Prix. So we look forward to seeing that. And of course, the award ceremony that will be coming up here soon too. So thank you for joining me. I know it was worldwide. I hope that you got your therapy for the day. And again, please subscribe and follow me along this path, and I look forward for 2026. Bye.